start off with a quick question today. And that question is, have you ever stared at your website or your social media and just felt meh? And you just know this does not feel like me anymore. For a moment when we hit midlife, for those of us who are in midlife, if you're on your way there, you may hit this too. For business owners, when you've been doing something for a while, more than likely you hit a point where you think, something's shifted. I've changed. I've evolved. I think it's time for something new. And sometimes it takes a while to get there. Your online presence does not have to live or abide by anyone else's rules but your own. That's what we're going to talk about in today's video. We are going to talk about the midlife rebrand, and reinventing yourself does not mean you have to start from scratch. I'm going to share a little bit of my journey. I'm going to do some screen sharing with you, talk about the process, what that's looking like as I move towards that. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Here are some signs that it might be time for a rebrand for you. First of all, you cringe when someone says, "So what do you do?" Now, mind you, for a lot of us who work online, and actually let me back up for 1 second and say that you don't have to have an online business. Maybe you want to start one. Maybe you're in a career and you want to transition, or you're just ready for a personal rebrand. A lot of this will apply to you. But for the sake of today's video, I am going to focus on the midlife rebrand for those of us who work online and have an online business. One thing that often comes up, and when people say, "Oh, well, what do you do?" Especially when they find out I work from home, for the sake of most conversations, I just simply say, "Oh, I do online marketing," because it's kind of hard to quantify to people who don't understand this space or explain it in a way that makes sense to them. When I say, "Oh, I do coaching, I do consulting, I create content, I do videos," you end up with a bit of a blank stare if they're unfamiliar. Some people ask questions. More often than not, they don't. To each their own. But when you get that cringy feeling of, "So what do you do?" it might be time for a rebrand. If you've outgrown your messaging or your offers or your brand visuals and you feel like, "I don't know, this feels like me a few years ago," or it's another chapter or even another lifetime, you feel boxed in by what you used to teach and talk about. And I hit that. And let me tell you that the transition here has been a few years in the making. I'm not saying it has to take a few years. It could take a few days. It could take a few weeks, a few months, whatever works for you. I needed to pause and slow down and step back. And the evolution of this has just been wild. And now that I've gotten the clarity, I can't stop with the ideas and the implementation. The action is flowing as well. So that's key. Another sign it might be time for a rebrand is that bottom line is you've changed, but your brand hasn't caught up with that or kept up with where we are and who we are today. And if you've listened to any of my other videos or watched them, you probably know that I'm a little bit anti-niche stance. That has been the message and the mantra in the marketing space for as long as I've been in it, for 17 years. You have to niche down, you have to niche down, you have to niche down. Well, I think you need to start somewhere, but it's really hard to get clear on where you want to be without doing the work and getting feedback and engagement and finding what lights you up. And I want you to think about all of the people who have podcasts where they interview experts from across the spectrum. One day they might have a neuroscientist on, the next day they've got a relationship coach, the next day they've got a celebrity on. So forget it. Be you. Okay, I'm going to preach that as long as I am on this planet, that you have to follow what works for you. Oftentimes we start businesses or we build brands based on where we are at the time, which completely makes sense. And is also why it makes sense to shift when something feels like it's time for a change. Here's the cool thing is that you don't have to burn it all down. Trust me, I've had plenty of times in my business career where I'm like, "That's it, I'm burning the boats." Trust me, I've had plenty of times where I thought, "Peace out, Girl Scout, I'm done. We're going to leave this alone." I pivoted from the WordPress Chick to my personal brand in 2018. But I had been the WordPress Chick for 10 years, and I knew I was getting tired of talking about not just about WordPress, but about plugins. And I just didn't quite feel like that was my space anymore. And then since then, for the last 7 years, it's been content marketing, and I've done a lot of coaching and consulting and courses on content, which is still a lot of what I do, but I simply knew that something wasn't sitting right, and I was ready to move forward. I jumped into AI early on. I taught some courses and did consulting on that, but still, I knew there was a spot in between the two newsletters I have and the two audiences with where I wanted to go. I want to show you that. I talked about this in the clarity video I did, and I will link to that below. When thinking about a rebrand, there's two things you want to think about. You want to think about what to keep, and you want to think about what to evolve. So what to keep is your voice, your favorite stories, the lessons you've learned, the skills, the experiences you've had up until this point. But what can evolve is your copy, your visuals, your offers, and your energy. Because I will tell you that my energy, it's like somebody keeps putting gasoline on a fire because I'm so excited about what I'm doing. And it's been a really long time since I felt that. So let's go ahead and we're going to jump in, and then I'm going to come back to how to start this for yourself. So first of all, this is my website. This is mykimdoyle.com. What you can't see, and I'm going to click into these two pages, there's a full navigation of other offers and other things, but I took it down for the time being. I have let this sit. Now, these are my current colors, and I'll show you where else I'm using them. But I've not been driving people to my website for a long time because I'm on Substack, and I'll show you that. The Spark newsletter, I'm still writing that under my Kim Doyle Substack website. But I'm going to scroll through this and talk about a couple things. So again, I've been doing content marketing for a long time. I had a physical planner with a business partner called the Content Creators Planner. Like, this has been my space. I've done podcasting. I've done videos. Like, you get it, okay? So the few things that I focused on, ChatGPT and AI, and this was when it first came out a couple years ago, and email marketing. I'm a huge proponent and fan of email marketing. And of course, content marketing. Okay, so these are the three different things. And of course, you could click through to those pages, which is kind of funny because I took them out of the navigation, but I didn't think about these buttons until just now. And it's okay. The world has not fallen apart. This has been my shtick since, probably 2018. I came up with the hashtag everything is content. So I've taught people how to take everyday stories, experiences, lessons, everything in their business and create content around it. And I still believe everything is content. The what and the why, I talked about this. I haven't had my podcast look at the last episode published was May 2024, and I may or may not pick it up. I don't know what that looks like right now. A little bit about me. Oh, this is not appearing. It'll appear on another page. Testimonials, so you get the whole idea. What's not changed is my energy. I'm still in the marketing space. Let's click over really quick. This is my story. This is my journey. This was my husband. I've shared this with you guys. He died in a car accident in 2003. Our kids were little. This was a year before he passed away. But this has been my journey. So here's where those show up. But here's something I want to point out to you. I don't do anything with ClickFunnels anymore. Duct tape marketing I was on a long time ago. All of these podcasts, while I appreciated the experience, is that who I am today? Is that where I'm at? Not really, okay? So then here's some fun things you may or may not know about me. So of course I can pull that together. So this is my Kim Doyle site. I like bright colors. This was me. I lived in Costa Rica for a couple of years. A lot of the site, because I was moving back to Costa Rica, I didn't stay last fall, had Costa Rica photos and whatnot. And amazing, most incredible thing I've done for myself in my personal life was to take that leap. It was such an amazing experience. But it's not where I'm at today. All right, now let's jump over to Substack. This is very kind of vanilla right now because I jumped into Substack because I knew that there was organic traffic. I knew there was an opportunity to grow an audience. And what I want to do, I'm going to scroll down because you can see what this looks like. So let's go over to see all. And I want to show you that my thumbnails, oh, I thought one wasn't there, used to look like this. So you can see they're not embedded in the post, so I won't click through. You can see that was part, those are my colors, that was part of the brand, and it just didn't feel right, because if you would come to the homepage, everything blended, nothing stood out. So then I've got this, and this is Real Talk on Marketing and Mindset. And even this, it's now been 17 years. So the language felt very marketing. Substack is a different vibe, you guys. It's friends, it's hanging out. It's like, how do you talk to people? How do you really want them to know you versus marketing speak? Then we have Women, Wisdom, and Wealth. I started this last fall. I'm very committed to helping women to conquer, address, master their money mindset from a neuroscience, a spiritual, psychological perspective. I'm not going to teach stock picking or investment. There's tons of great people out there, but it's hard to do that when stuff in here isn't right. Okay, so Women, Wisdom, and Wealth. I started this journey. I actually enrolled in a master's program in financial planning and financial psychology, only to realize I was going to lose my mind if I spent more time in spreadsheets. And the truth is that program was really geared towards people who are interested in a financial planning career. And there's nothing in me that wants to do that, but I'm still committed to this mission, to this message, to this understanding. And so I've continued to do this. I am now getting a money coaching certification through the Money Coaching Institute, which is phenomenal. And I'll do a whole video on that later. But here's the thing. Now I started to feel pulled. I relaunched my YouTube channel and I was like, what? I'm losing my mind. What am I doing here? Having to put out 2 newsletters, which, while there's a crossover, really felt like I'm not giving either the attention it deserves. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm going to pull up. Let me just do this really quick. All right, so this is where things are heading. Welcome to The Business Within, aligned, abundant, unapologetically you. The Business Within addresses all of the internal things that I'm working on in terms of the money coaching piece of it. I am fascinated by the ability to change behaviors with neuroscience and understanding that. And I've got like this fun kind of spark, right? Where I also want to pull in my spiritual side. I want to pull in the fun, the playful side of me. And The Business Within addresses the business piece that after 17 years in doing this, I've coached, I've consulted, I've taught through classes, courses, and workshops. I know how to guide women in succeeding online. And so this just felt like a win-win. All right, so here's the thing. Now what to do with everything else. So let me back up and tell you my process. And that is that I am starting in the background. I've created a plan. I've created an entire Notion doc on The Business Within and how I'm doing this. I'm going to start working on a new website. So this, and you guys, I was a WordPress chick for 10 years, so I don't want you to think that you have to go rebrand and do a whole new website. I've got the skill set to make this stuff happen fairly quickly. My recommendation, if you're starting or this is all new, straight to Substack. I did another video on the 3 platforms I would use if I were starting today. They would be Substack, YouTube, and email. Okay, easy place to start. Also, commercial break. Now, I have a visual guide to setting up Substack. I'm not going to teach you how to write or do any of that, at least as of now. But I created a visual guide because even with my experience, the onboarding and setup made me a little bit nuts. Okay, so I do have a visual guide to Substack. I will link that below. But new website coming. I'm not going to go and delete all the old content I have. With Substack, you'll see my URL is kimdoyle.substack. However, the newsletter's been called The Spark. I'm going to move everything over to kimdoyle.substack, and maybe I'll play with it. The newsletter will be The Business Within. I'm going to merge Women, Wisdom, and Wealth and point it over here. And this is crazy, you guys. Welcome to my brain. I had another newsletter called Imperfect that I started a few years ago. I really love the writing process. Sorry about that. Let's view the site. And this was more just thinking about stuff I wanted to write about. Guess what? They're all going to go under Kim Doyle. The newsletter will be The Business Within, and I've got offerings and stuff coming later from that. I had to step back. Where can I give all of my time and attention and energy, and who do I want to serve? That was it. And it's been a process. Like I said, I started Women, Wisdom, and Wealth 7 months ago, truly. And I didn't know where it was going to take me. I just knew I needed to start writing. I needed to start putting it out there, having conversations and engaging with people, and it would show itself to me. And that might sound esoteric or a little bit out there, but who cares? I don't care anymore. So it doesn't matter. The right people will resonate with the message. Might I lose some subscribers? Possibly. I don't think so. The way I write, I have a lot of men that are also on my email list. I will still provide massive value in tools and marketing and the things that I'm enjoying doing, but I needed it under one cohesive umbrella. And that's what I found. Now let's talk about how to start your midlife rebrand. So I'm going to put these in below. I'll put the questions in also, but audit your presence. Ask yourself, what doesn't feel aligned? What makes me get excited? What makes me feel proud? What makes me roll my eyes or cringe? Maybe it's the copy or the way you've described yourself. You can define your new vibe. And here's another, I keep referencing these videos, but this is sort of a grand plan in that what I'm doing is I'm practicing and publishing in public. I created a big vision. I defined my core values. I did the big vision video and I showed you how I did it with ChatGPT and Notion. And I do have the links below the video where you can copy the Notion template and you can also get the prompts that I use for ChatGPT and define your own. I'm going to live my life from my core values. So maybe you want to choose 3 to 5 words that define you, but I'll tell you that the big vision, it's a really fun exercise because you're going to ask ChatGPT to ask you questions. You're going to need to get clarity. This is what I want to accomplish. Go watch that video. And then you want to start publishing publicly. I've said this so many times. You get clarity through the doing. So let go of perfection. Let go of, I need to have this dialed. I need to have that dialed. Just show up. Start publishing. Might there be crickets? Yep. But the more you connect and engage with other people and their content, my recommendation still is Substack, the more feedback you're going to get and you're going to find what resonates with you. But don't wait till you think you've got everything dialed. Start publishing right away. And last but not least is let it be a process. You don't have to do a big reveal. I'm thinking about doing a live stream where I reveal the website and what I'm working on, but I'm going to be talking about this and sharing the process and how I'm getting there from now until that happens, because that's too stressful to me. If I have to think about merging 3 things and then doing a big website reveal all in once, something will go wrong. I've been doing this long enough. Something will glitch. Some URL's not going to work. So forget it. I'm just going to do it as I go. So really what I'm hoping you get from this video today is that your midlife rebrand is not about proving something new. You have permission to evolve. It's about claiming who you've always been and letting her lead, giving yourself permission to do it in a way that works for you and how you want to show up. You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to drop what no longer fits. You're allowed to pivot without apology. Although I had a friend, shout out, Jan, thank you, that she said, you know what, it's not a pivot, it's an evolution. And I believe that too. But you are allowed to evolve without apology. And really, you don't need to start over. Just start again. Start with where you're at. Don't worry about deleting content. Don't worry about wiping out social platforms. It would be so great if we all had so much traffic on every platform or every space we had a link or something out there to think, I have to get this right. But it's just not the case. Most people are busy with their own lives. So just have some fun with this. Allow yourself to evolve. We become different people at different stages of life. Midlife, this is like this juicy, I don't know, it's not, I want to say a rebirth, but man, it's a coming home to self. I hope this is giving you permission to do a rebrand. And I do want to do a little caveat. If you don't have an online business or you're thinking about one, all of these things apply. You just show up, test, try. I promise you nothing major is going to happen. You don't have to worry about, oh, change my mind. I have done that so many times, I can't even count. Nobody cares. They actually tell me, I'm so glad you're willing to say this isn't working and move on. So if this landed for you, please hit subscribe. I talk about midlife business, money, mindset, and creating work that feels like freedom. Share it with a friend who's in her reinvention era too. As always, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments, what are you ready to let go of? And if you're thinking about a reinvention or you're starting new, let me know that too. Thanks, guys, and I will catch you next time.